The massive alien ship floated in space like a dark mountain. Its metal surface gleamed under the light of distant stars. Inside the ship, High Counselor Zaref stood tall on 6 legs, his purple skin shining in the bright lights of the command center. His large yellow eyes looked at the screen showing data about the new species they had found. Humans, he said with disgust. His voice was deep and cold. Look at these weak creatures. The other aliens around him nodded. They were all part of the Vexthari Empire, the most powerful force in the galaxy. For thousands of years, they had ruled over hundreds of worlds. Every species they met either joined them willingly or was forced to obey. Their ships are so small, said one of his officers. Their weapons are weak. They use primitive rockets and simple lasers. Zaref touched the screen with one of his long fingers. Pictures of human cities appeared. He saw tall buildings, busy streets, and millions of people living their daily lives. To him, it all looked so simple and unorganized. They fight each other on their own planet, he said, shaking his head. How can a species be so stupid? They waste their energy on silly wars instead of working together. The officer brought up more data. They have emotions, sir. They get angry, sad, and happy. This makes them unstable. They cannot think clearly when their feelings take control. Perfect. Zaref smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Emotional creatures are easy to control. Fear works well on them. A small show of our power, and they will surrender quickly. Meanwhile, millions of miles away, Commander Taiwan sat in his much smaller ship. He was looking at the same alien vessel through his telescope. His brown eyes were serious as he studied the massive craft. It's bigger than anything we've ever built, said Captain Boram, standing next to him. She was young but brave, with short black hair and quick hands that never stopped moving. Size isn't everything, Taiwan replied quietly. He was older, with gray hair at his temples. Years of military service had taught him to stay calm even when facing danger. Dr. He-Jin walked into the room carrying a thick book of notes. She was the smartest person on the ship when it came to understanding alien species. Her job was to make peace if possible. I've been studying their communications, she said. They call themselves the Vexthari Empire. They rule many worlds across this part of the galaxy. What do they want with us? Asked Boram. He-Jin sat down and opened her book. From what I can understand, they want us to join their empire. They think all species should be under their control. Taiwan frowned. And if we say no? They will probably try to force us, she answered. But maybe we can talk to them. Maybe we can find a peaceful way. The next day, Taiwan and his small crew flew to the alien ship. The docking bay was huge, big enough to hold 100 human ships. Alien soldiers stood in neat rows, their weapons ready. They all looked the same, like machines rather than living beings. Zaref waited for them in a great hall. The ceiling was so high that Taiwan could barely see the top. Everything was made of cold metal and strange crystals that glowed with blue light. Welcome, humans, Zaref said. His voice echoed in the large room. I am High Counselor Zaref of the Vexthari Empire. Taiwan stepped forward and bowed slightly. I am Commander Taiwan of Earth. This is Dr. Hyejin and Captain Boram. We come in peace, Zaref laughed, a sound like metal scraping against stone. Peace? Of course you come in peace. You have no choice. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your ships are like toys compared to ours. Dr. Hyejin stepped forward. We hope to build friendship between our peoples. Humans have much to offer. We are good at solving problems and creating new things. Zaref walked around them in a circle. What could a primitive species like yours create that we need? We have technology you cannot even understand. We have ruled the galaxy since before your species learned to make fire. We may be new to space travel, Taiwan said calmly, but humans have survived many difficult times. We learn quickly and adapt to new situations. Adapt? Zaref stopped walking and stared at him. You mean you change your plans when things get hard? That shows weakness. Strong species stick to their plans no matter what happens. Boram's hands moved to her weapon, but Taiwan gave her a small signal to stay calm. Zaref continued talking. I will make this simple for you. Join our empire now and your people will be treated well. You will work for us, follow our rules, and give us any resources we need. In return, we will protect you from other dangers in space. That sounds like slavery, not partnership, He-Jin said quietly. Call it what you want, Zaref replied. This is how the galaxy works. The strong rule and the weak obey. It has always been this way. Taiwan looked at his two companions, then back at Zaref. We need time to think about this offer. I must speak with my government on Earth. Seraph's eyes grew wide with surprise. Time? You dare to ask for time? No species has ever asked for time before. They either accept immediately or get destroyed. We are not other species, Taewon said firmly. We make important decisions carefully. Give us 1 week to discuss this with our leaders. The alien counselor stared at him for a long moment. Around the room, other aliens whispered to each other in their strange language. Some looked angry, others seemed confused. Very well, Seraph said finally. 1 week. But know this, human. If you refuse our generous offer, there will be consequences. The Vexthari Empire does not accept disobedience. As they returned to their ship, Boram shook her head. He thinks we're going to just give up our freedom without a fight. Maybe that's good, Hyejin said. If they think we're weak, they might not be ready for what humans can really do. Taewon nodded as he looked back at the massive alien ship. Send a message to Earth immediately. Tell them to prepare for war. Something tells me that talking isn't going to work with these people. In his command center, Seraph watched the small human ship fly away. He was already planning his attack. In his mind, it would be quick and easy. A few destroyed ships, some bombed cities, and the humans would surrender. They all did eventually. He had no idea how wrong he was about to be. The week passed quickly. On Earth, Admiral Jinwoo sat in the war room deep underground. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps and ship positions. He was an old soldier with gray hair and tired eyes, but his mind was still sharp. They want us to be their slaves, he said to the other officers around the table. That's not going to happen. Engineer Soo-jin looked up from her computer. She was young and smart, with quick fingers that never stopped typing. I've been studying the data from Commander Taewon's meeting. Their ships are big, but big doesn't always mean better. What do you mean? Asked Admiral Jinwoo. Big ships are slow to turn. They need time to change direction. Our smaller ships can move much faster, she explained. Also, their weapons are very powerful, but they seem to fire in straight lines. If we don't fly in straight lines, it will be harder for them to hit us. Lieutenant Kyung-ho was studying the alien ship designs on his screen. He was young, but very good at understanding how things worked. Look at this, sir. Their shields are very strong in front, but weaker on the sides and back. Admiral Jinwoo nodded. Good work. Send all this information to our ships immediately. And Soo-jin, how quickly can you modify our weapons? Give me 3 days, she said. I can't make them more powerful, but I can make them faster and more accurate. Far away in space, Captain Boram commanded a small group of human ships near the edge of human territory. Her ships were tiny compared to the alien vessels, but her crew was ready for anything. Contact on sensors, reported her communications officer. It's a Vexthari fleet, 20 ships heading straight for the colony on New Sol. Boram looked at her small force. She had only 5 ships against 20. Any normal commander would retreat and call for help. But Boram was not normal. All ships, listen carefully, she said into her communicator. We're not going to run. These aliens think we're weak and scared. Let's show them they're wrong. The Vexthari fleet approached slowly, confident in their power. Their commander, General Thurok, was sure this would be easy. His ships were huge and heavily armed. The human ships looked like insects next to them. Attention, human vessels, he broadcasted. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist and we will destroy your colonies and everyone on them. Boram's reply was simple. Come and try. The battle began immediately. The alien ships fired their big weapons, sending beams of energy through space. But Boram had studied Lieutenant Kyung-ho's reports. She knew the aliens would fire in straight lines. All ships pattern Delta, she commanded. Her ships began flying in crazy patterns, diving and spinning through space. The alien weapons fired where the human ships had been, not where they were going. Impossible, General Thurok said as his shots missed again and again. How are they moving so fast? Boram led her ships toward a nearby asteroid field. The big alien ships had trouble following them between the floating rocks. Their size worked against them here. Now, Boram shouted. Her ships fired their missiles from behind the asteroids. The weapons hit the alien ships on their sides where their shields were weaker. One alien ship exploded in a ball of fire. Then another. General Thurok couldn't believe what he was seeing. These tiny human ships were actually hurting his fleet. All ships. Ramming speed, Boram ordered when her missiles ran out. Captain, that's suicide, said her second officer. Maybe, she replied, but we'll take some of them with us. The human ships flew straight at the alien vessels. At the last second, they turned and scraped along the alien hulls. firing their remaining weapons at close range. 2 more alien ships were badly damaged. Lieutenant Kyung-ho had been right about the shield weakness. The close-range attacks worked much better than long-distance shots. General Thurok finally managed to destroy 3 of the human ships, but it cost him 6 of his own. As the remaining human ships retreated, he stared at his damaged fleet in shock. "How is this possible?" he asked. "They're supposed to be primitive." Back on Earth, Admiral Jinwoo received the battle reports. Captain Bo-ram's small force had given the aliens a bloody nose, but more enemy fleets were coming. "Soo-jin, are those weapon modifications ready?" he asked. "Yes, sir. I've also developed something new. Kinetic bombardment weapons, what's that?" She showed him a simple diagram. "We take a big piece of metal and drop it from space. No explosives needed, just speed and gravity. When it hits hard." Engineer Soo-jin had realized something important. Humans didn't need to build better technology than the aliens. They just needed to use their technology in smarter ways. "How hard?" asked the Admiral. "Hard enough to level a city," she replied. "The aliens have never seen anything like this because it's so simple. Sometimes the simple way is the best way." Lieutenant Kyung-ho had been studying more captured alien technology. "Admiral, I think I know why their tactics are so predictable. They fight like machines. Everything is planned and organized. They don't know how to adapt when something unexpected happens. But humans do," Admiral Jinwoo said with a smile. "We've been dealing with unexpected problems our whole history. It's what we do best." Meanwhile, High Counselor Zaref was receiving General Thurok's report. His yellow eyes grew angry as he heard about the battle. "You lost 6 ships to 5 human vessels?" he roared. "How is this possible?" "They fight like nothing we've ever seen," General Thurok explained. "They don't follow any logical patterns. They take risks that should get them killed, but somehow it works." Zaref walked back and forth in his command center. This was not going according to plan. The humans should have surrendered after seeing their power. Instead, they were fighting back. "Send more ships," he ordered. "Send 50 ships. Crush them completely." But deep in his mind, a small doubt was growing. Maybe these humans were not as weak as he had thought. Their emotional nature, which he had seen as weakness, seemed to make them fight harder, not give up easier. On Earth, the war preparations continued. Admiral Jinwoo gathered his commanders for a final meeting before the next battle. "The aliens think we're going to fight like they do," he said. "Big fleets, organized formations, logical tactics. We're not going to do that." "What are we going to do?" asked one of his captains. "We're going to fight like humans," he replied. "We're going to be unpredictable, stubborn, and absolutely refuse to give up. We're going to show them that sometimes the best weapon is not technology, but determination." Engineer Soo-jin finished the last modifications to the fleet weapons. Lieutenant Kyung-ho completed his analysis of alien weaknesses. Captain Bo-ram prepared her ships for the next battle. None of them knew if they could win against such a powerful enemy. But they all knew one thing for certain. They would never surrender. That was not the human way. High Counselor Zaref was about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. The human counterattack began at dawn across 12 star systems. Admiral Jinwoo stood in the command center on Earth, watching as red dots moved across the star map. Each dot was a human ship heading into battle against impossible odds. "All fleets report ready," said his communications officer. Jinwoo nodded. "Send the message. Operation Defiance begins now." Across space, human ships that had been hiding behind moons and asteroids suddenly appeared. They moved like angry bees, swarming toward the larger Vexthari vessels. The aliens had expected humans to fight defensively, protecting their worlds. They never expected humans to attack. Colonel Min-ho led the most dangerous part of the operation. His special forces teams flew small, fast ships straight at the alien capital ships. Their mission was simple but deadly: board the enemy vessels and fight them from the inside. "Remember," Min-ho told his soldiers over the radio, "these aliens think we're weak because we have emotions. Let's show them what angry humans can do." Min-ho was a hard man with scars on his face and hands that never shook. He had fought in wars on Earth before humans reached the stars. He knew how to hurt an enemy. The small human ships attached themselves to the alien hulls like ticks on a dog. Cutting tools sliced through the metal. Within minutes, human soldiers were inside the enemy ships. The aliens had never experienced boarding actions before. In their logical way of fighting, ship-to-ship combat happened at long range. The idea of enemy soldiers running through their corridors was completely new to them. Intruders in Section 7, an alien officer reported to his captain. They're moving toward the engine room. How many? The captain asked. 12 humans, sir. Send 60 soldiers to stop them. But when the alien soldiers reached Section 7, they found something they didn't expect. The humans weren't trying to hide or retreat. They were advancing, fighting with a fury that seemed impossible. Minho led his team down the narrow corridors. His soldiers moved like they had been training for this moment their whole lives. When aliens appeared, the humans didn't hesitate. They fought with everything they had. They're not afraid. One alien soldier whispered to another, "Why aren't they afraid?" The truth was the humans were afraid, but fear made them fight harder, not weaker. Every human soldier knew that if they failed, their families back home would suffer. That thought gave them strength the aliens couldn't understand. Meanwhile, Dr. Yeren was testing her new weapons on a Vexthari cruiser. She had taken Engineer Sujin's kinetic bombardment idea and made it even simpler. Instead of dropping metal from space, she fired metal rods at incredible speed. "Target locked," reported her weapons officer. "Fire," Dr. Yeren said calmly. The metal rod hit the alien ship like a giant hammer. It went straight through their shields and armor as if they were made of paper. The ship broke in half and exploded. Dr. Yeren smiled. Physics is the same everywhere in the universe. Force equals mass times acceleration. The aliens may have better technology, but they can't change the laws of physics. Pilot Dayun was leading a squadron of fighters against an alien battleship. Her small craft buzzed around the huge vessel like insects around a giant. The alien gunners tried to hit them, but the human fighters moved too fast. "This is crazy," one of her pilots said over the radio. "That ship has enough firepower to destroy a moon." "Then we better not let it point those guns at a moon," Dawn replied. She was young and fearless, with steady hands and sharp eyes. "Follow me in. We're going for the weapon ports." The human fighters dove toward the alien ship. The bigger guns couldn't turn fast enough to track them. When they reached the hull, they fired their missiles directly into the weapon openings. One by one, the alien weapons exploded. The massive battleship was left helpless, its guns destroyed by tiny fighters that shouldn't have been able to hurt it. High Counselor Zaref watched the battle reports with growing horror. His fleets were being torn apart by an enemy that refused to fight in any logical way. "They're inside our ships," reported one of his admirals. "Human soldiers are actually fighting hand-to-hand with our crews." "Impossible," Zaref said. "No civilized species fights that way." "These humans don't seem to care about being civilized," the admiral replied. "They fight like wild animals, but that wasn't true. The humans weren't fighting like animals. They were fighting like humans, with intelligence, courage, and absolute determination to protect what they loved." Colonel Minho had reached the engine room of the alien ship. His team had fought through dozens of enemy soldiers. Half his men were wounded, but they kept going. "Plant the charges," he ordered. The alien captain appeared on the ship's communication system. "Human soldiers, surrender now and we will spare your lives." Minho looked up at the camera. "We don't surrender. That's not how humans work." The charges exploded. The alien ship's engines went dead. Without power, it drifted helplessly in space. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human soldiers who should have been crushed by superior numbers were winning through sheer determination. Pilots who should have been shot down kept flying even when their ships were falling apart. Dr. Yeren's kinetic weapons were destroying alien ships that had seemed invincible. Pilot Dayun's fighters were taking apart battleships piece by piece. The aliens began to panic. This wasn't how war was supposed to work. The stronger side was supposed to win. But these humans seemed to get stronger the harder things became. "Sir," an alien officer said to Zaref, "perhaps we should negotiate. These humans are more dangerous than we thought." Zaref's yellow eyes flashed with anger. "We do not negotiate with primitives. Send more ships. Send everything we have," but doubt was growing in his mind. How could a species he had dismissed as weak and emotional be causing such damage to his mighty empire? On Earth, Admiral Jinwoo watched the battle reports with grim satisfaction. His forces were winning, but the cost was high. Many good people were dying in space, far from home. "Admiral," his aide said quietly, "the casualty reports are coming in. We've lost 30% of our forces." Jinwoo nodded sadly. "And how many alien ships have we destroyed?" "Over 200, sir. Their fleets are retreating from 8 star systems." Jinwoo looked at the star map. The red dots representing his ships were fewer now. but they were still advancing. Each human crew knew they might not come home, but they fought anyway. That's the difference, he said to himself. They fight because they're ordered to. We fight because we choose to. Colonel Min Ho and his surviving soldiers were rescued from the disabled alien ship. As they flew back to their base, they passed the wreckage of dozens of alien vessels. Think they're starting to take us seriously now? Asked one of his men. Min Ho looked out at the debris field. Each piece of metal had once been part of a ship that thought humans were weak and helpless. I think they're starting to learn, he replied. But this is just the beginning. They wanted a war with humanity. Now they're going to get one. High Counselor Zaref stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. In 3 days of fighting, he had lost more ships than in the last 100 years of conquest. These humans were nothing like any enemy he had ever faced. They didn't fight for territory or resources. They fought for each other, and that made them incredibly dangerous. For the first time in his long life, Zaref began to wonder if the Vexithari Empire had made a terrible mistake. The war had been going on for 3 months now. Both sides had committed everything they had to the fight. General Sung Min stood on the walls of New Busan Colony, watching alien ships in the sky above. The colony was under siege, but it had not fallen. Sung Min was a big man with strong hands and a voice that could be heard over the sound of explosions. He had turned every human colony into a fortress. When the aliens came to take a world, they found that humans didn't just defend cities. They defended every street, every building, every room. Sir, they're demanding surrender again, reported his communications officer. Sung Min spat into the dirt. Tell them the same thing we told them yesterday. Humans don't surrender. The alien ground forces had learned this the hard way. When they landed on human worlds, expecting quick victories, they found that every civilian was a potential soldier. Farmers fought with hunting rifles. Factory workers built bombs in their workshops. Even children helped by carrying messages and supplies. Why do they fight so hard? Asked General Vorthak, the alien commander trying to take New Busan. We offer them good treatment if they surrender. We're not unreasonable. His aide checked the reports. They seem to believe that fighting for their homes is more important than staying alive, sir. General Vorthak couldn't understand this. In his species, logic ruled everything. If you couldn't win, you surrendered and tried to make the best deal possible. Fighting a hopeless battle was just wasteful. But humans saw it differently. To them, some things were worth dying for. Navigator Ho Jin was flying his ship through a dangerous part of space called the Void. It was an area where gravitational forces from dead stars made normal space travel impossible. Most species avoided it completely. But Ho Jin had discovered that human ships could survive the trip if the pilot was skilled enough and brave enough to try. The physical stress would kill most aliens, but humans were tougher than they looked. Jump complete, he reported to Admiral Jinwoo. I'm in Vexthari territory. They have no idea I'm here. Ho Jin's job was to spy on alien fleet movements and send the information back to Earth. His small ship was hidden among the debris of an ancient battle. From here he could watch alien ships coming and going. What he saw worried him. The aliens were bringing ships from all over their empire. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. They're really angry now, he said to himself. But anger makes people make mistakes. Communications Officer Yu Jin sat in a hidden base on an asteroid, listening to alien radio signals. She was young but very smart, able to understand languages faster than anyone else in the fleet. I'm picking up something interesting, she reported to her commander. The alien empire isn't as united as we thought. She had been intercepting messages between different alien species within the Vexithari Empire. Some of them were starting to question whether this war was a good idea. The Zephyrians are asking why they should die for Vexthari pride, she translated. The Morphic Collective wants to know why they're fighting creatures that just want to be left alone. This was valuable information. If the alien empire was having doubts, maybe humans could use that weakness. High Counselor Zaref was indeed having problems. In his great hall, representatives from 12 different alien species were arguing loudly. This war is costing us too much, said Ambassador Clix of the Zephyrians. We've lost more ships in 3 months than in 30 years of normal conquest. The humans are not like other species, added Counselor Morpheus of the Collective. They don't fight for logical reasons. They fight because they believe in something. Zaref slammed his hand on the table. They fight because they're too stupid to know when they're beaten. We just need to hit them harder. But even he was starting to have doubts. The reports from the front lines were getting worse every day. Human soldiers who kept fighting even when they were wounded, pilots who crashed their ships into alien vessels rather than retreat, civilians who chose death over surrender. Perhaps, said Ambassador Clicks carefully, we should consider what the humans actually want. They said they just wanted to be left alone. Impossible, Seraph replied. If we let them keep their independence, other species will think they can do the same. The Empire would fall apart. But that was exactly what was starting to happen. Species that had been loyal to the Vexathari Empire for centuries were beginning to wonder if they really needed to be part of it. Back on the human colony world, General Sung Min was preparing for another alien attack. His soldiers were tired and running low on supplies, but their spirits were still strong. General, said one of his officers, the aliens are offering to evacuate civilians before they attack. They say they don't want to hurt innocent people. Sung Min laughed. And what did the civilians say? They said they're staying to help fight, sir. This was something the aliens couldn't understand. In their logical thinking, civilians should want to avoid danger. But human civilians saw their defenders as family, and family didn't abandon each other. Navigator Ho Jun sent another report from deep in alien territory. Major fleet movement toward the Centauri system. Looks like they're planning something big. Admiral Jinwoo studied the information. The aliens were gathering their largest fleet ever for one massive attack. They wanted to end the war with overwhelming force. They still don't get it, he said to his staff. They think this is about who has the bigger army. Communications Officer Yu Jin intercepted more alien messages. Sir, I'm hearing something strange. Some alien species are asking their ships to return home. They're pulling out of the war. How many? Asked Jinwoo. 3 species so far. Maybe more coming. Jinwoo smiled for the first time in weeks. The Empire is cracking. They're starting to realize that we're not the real enemy. The real enemy is a system that forces everyone to obey one ruler. High Counselor Zareth was discovering this the hard way. Ambassador Clicks had just informed him that the Zephyrians were withdrawing from the war completely. You cannot do this, Zareth raged. We have a treaty. You swore loyalty to the Empire. We swore loyalty when the Empire was strong and wise, Clicks replied calmly. Fighting a war against people who just want to be free is neither strong nor wise. Counselor Morpheus nodded in agreement. The humans have shown us something we forgot. Sometimes it's better to fight for what you believe in than to live safely under someone else's rules. Zareth felt his empire slipping away from him. The humans had done something he never expected. They had inspired other species to think for themselves. Sir, his aide whispered, perhaps we should consider negotiating with the humans. This war is destroying everything we've built. Zareth looked around his great hall. Half the seats were now empty. Species that had served the Empire for generations were leaving. Some were even asking to send ambassadors to Earth to make their own peace deals. For the first time, Zareth began to understand what he was really fighting. It wasn't just human ships and weapons. It was an idea. The idea that people should be free to choose their own path. And ideas, he was learning, were much harder to destroy than ships. General Sung Min received word that 3 alien species had stopped attacking human colonies. The siege of New Busan was lifted as alien ships withdrew to defend their homeworlds from civil unrest. Looks like we're not the only ones who want to be free, he said to his officers. Navigator Ho Jin reported that the massive alien fleet was breaking up, with ships heading in different directions as their species recalled them. Communications Officer Yu Jin intercepted a message that made her smile. Sir, the Morphic Collective just declared independence from the Vexathari Empire. They're asking if they can talk to our diplomats about trade agreements. Admiral Jinwoo looked at the star map. The red dots representing human ships were still outnumbered, but now they weren't alone. Other species were choosing freedom over empire. I think, he said quietly, we're starting to win this war. Not with weapons, but with hope. Scientist Jae Min had been working for 18 hours straight in his laboratory deep under the mountains of Earth. His eyes were red from tiredness, but his hands still moved quickly over his equipment. He had just made a breakthrough that would change everything. Admiral Jinwoo, he called into his communicator. I need you to see this immediately. When the Admiral arrived, Jae Min showed him 2 small devices that looked like simple metal boxes. Quantum entanglement communicators, Jae Min explained. Messages sent to one box appear instantly on the other, no matter how far apart they are. No delay, no way for the enemy to intercept them. Admiral Jinwoo picked up one of the devices. How does it work? I don't completely understand it myself, Jamin admitted. But I know it works. We can coordinate attacks across the entire galaxy at the same time. The aliens will never see it coming. Within a week, every human ship had one of the new communicators. Admiral HFY, commanding the largest human fleet, was the first to test the new system. All units, this is Admiral HFY, she said into her communicator. Operation Lightning begins in 3, 2, 1, now. Across 12 star systems, human ships appeared as if from nowhere. They had been hiding, waiting for this moment. Now they struck together, perfectly coordinated. The Vexithari forces were caught completely off guard. They had never seen such precise timing from any enemy. How could ships that were light years apart attack at exactly the same moment? Impossible, said General Thurrock, watching his fleet get torn apart. They can't coordinate like this. The time delay alone should make it impossible. But it was happening. Human ships hit alien supply lines, command centers, and weapon factories all at the same time. The Vexithari Empire couldn't respond fast enough. Sergeant Do-hyun was leading a ground assault on an alien weapon depot. His soldiers had been studying captured Vexithari equipment for months. They had learned something the aliens never expected. These energy rifles work better if you remove the safety limiters, Do-hyun explained to his squad. The aliens designed them to be safe and reliable. We're going to make them dangerous and effective. Do-hyun was a tough soldier with quick eyes and steady hands. He had grown up poor on Earth, learning to fix broken machines with whatever parts he could find. That skill was very useful now. His squad burst into the alien depot using modified Vexithari weapons that fired faster and hit harder than the original versions. The alien guards couldn't believe their own weapons were being used against them with improved effectiveness. How are they doing that? One alien soldier asked another as they retreated. They're using our technology better than we do, came the frightened reply. This was happening all over the galaxy. Human engineers and soldiers were taking alien equipment and improving it in ways the original designers never imagined. Where aliens saw perfection, humans saw potential. Admiral HFY was studying the tactical display in her command center. The new communication system had given human forces a huge advantage, but she knew the aliens would adapt eventually. We need to keep them guessing, she told her officers. Every time they figure out our plan, we change it. HFY was a smart woman who had learned strategy by studying Earth's greatest military leaders. She knew that the key to victory was not having better weapons but using them in unexpected ways. Sir, reported her communications officer, we're receiving a message from the Morphic Collective. They want to coordinate attacks with us. This was something new. For the first time, humans were fighting alongside other species who had broken away from the Vexithari Empire. Send them our coordination frequencies, HFY ordered. Let's see what we can do together. The combined attacks were devastating. Human creativity and determination combined with alien technology and knowledge created a force the Empire couldn't handle. High Counselor Zaref watched his empire fall apart from his command center. Half of his member species had declared independence. Others were in open rebellion. His once mighty fleets were scattered and broken. Sir, his aide said quietly, perhaps it's time to consider surrender. Zaref's yellow eyes flashed with rage. Surrender? To a species that was using stone tools when my ancestors ruled the stars? With respect, sir, the aide replied. Those humans with stone tools just destroyed our greatest fleet. It was true. The latest battle report showed that Admiral HFY's coordinated attack had wiped out the Empire's most powerful battle group. Ships that had seemed invincible were now floating debris. Sergeant Do-hyun was broadcasting from the captured weapon depot. His message was being sent throughout Vexithari space. To all species under Vexithari rule, he said, you don't have to fight for an empire that doesn't care about you. You can choose your own path. Humans will help any species that wants to be free. The message was simple, but it spread like fire through the alien empire. Species that had been loyal for centuries began asking themselves why they were fighting people who offered friendship instead of domination. Sir, Communications Officer Yu Jin reported to Admiral Jin Woo, we're getting requests for asylum from 17 different species. They want to join the Human Alliance. Alliance? Jin Woo asked. That's what they're calling it, sir. The Free Species Alliance. They see us as the leaders of a movement for independence. Jin Woo had never intended to start a revolution, but that's what was happening. The idea of freedom was spreading faster than any weapon. Scientist Jae-min had developed even better versions of his quantum communicators. Now entire planets could coordinate with each other instantly. The Free Species Alliance was becoming more organized and effective every day. The Empire's biggest weakness, he explained to Admiral Jinwoo, is that everything has to go through their central command. If we cut those communication lines, they can't coordinate their forces. And with our new communicators, we can coordinate ours perfectly, Jinwoo realized. Admiral Haewon led the final assault on the Vexthari communication network. Her fleet, now including ships from 8 different species, struck at relay stations across the Empire. Within hours, Vexthari forces were cut off from each other. Local commanders had to make their own decisions without orders from above. Most of them chose to surrender rather than fight hopeless battles. Sergeant Do-hyun and his soldiers captured the main communication center on the Vexthari capital world. As they planted charges to destroy the equipment, he looked around at the massive complex. All this technology, he said to his squad, and they used it to control people instead of helping them. The explosion that destroyed the communication center was seen across the capital city. To the Vexthari people, it was a sign that their empire was truly finished. High Counselor Zaraf sat alone in his command center as reports poured in. His fleets were surrendering. His worlds were declaring independence. His empire was collapsing. "Sir," his last remaining aide said, "the humans are requesting a meeting. They want to discuss terms," Zaraf almost laughed. "Terms? They've already won. What terms could there be? They're not demanding surrender, sir. They're offering peace." This confused Zaraf more than anything else. In his experience, the winner took everything and the loser lost everything. But humans seem to think differently. "What do they want?" he asked. "They want us to leave them alone and stop trying to conquer other species. In return, they'll help rebuild the worlds damaged in the war." Zaraf couldn't understand it. These humans had the power to destroy his species completely, but instead they offered forgiveness and help. Admiral Jinwoo received a message that made him smile. Navigator Hojin, still deep in alien territory, reported that Vexthari ships were returning to their homeworlds to help with relief efforts instead of fighting. "The war is over," Jinwoo announced to his staff, "not because we destroyed them, but because they finally understand what we've been trying to tell them." Communications Officer Yu Jin intercepted one final message from the Vexthari Empire. It was High Counselor Zaraf himself speaking to his people. "I have learned," he said, "that strength is not about controlling others. True strength is about protecting what you love and helping those in need. The humans have taught us this lesson, though it cost us everything to learn it." Admiral Haewon looked out at the stars from her ship's bridge. The galaxy was a different place now. Instead of one empire ruling over everyone, there were dozens of free species working together. "Think it will last?" asked her second-in-command. Haewon nodded. "As long as we remember what we fought for. Not conquest, but the right to choose our own destiny." Scientist Jaemin was already working on new projects. Instead of weapons, he was developing technology to help rebuild damaged worlds and improve communication between different species. Sergeant Do-hyun had returned to Earth, where he was training soldiers from other species in human tactics. But now the tactics were for defense and peacekeeping, not conquest. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. The strongest force in the universe was not technology or numbers, but the determination to be free and the willingness to help others achieve that same freedom. And it had all started with humans who refused to surrender their independence to an empire that thought it knew better.